Hello, people. Welcome to the Creator Rick. Today, I wanted to talk about a few subjects revolving around the DCU, particularly just two subjects I have on my mind, which is Lanterns and then Superman Man of Tomorrow. We got a image of Lex Luthor in his power armor, and then it's like him fighting Superman. Well, three images, just a couple images that Nicholas Hoult, David Cornsweet, and James Gunn put up, or three images by, I believe, Dan Mora and Jim Lee, I believe. And then I think there was a third artist that put an image, or one of the images they put up was. So generally, my thoughts here are, it's cool to see the power armor. I've been kind of blue-balled with the Lex Luthor power armor a few times already, though, through figures like Spin Master, even for Superman Legacy, put out some toys of Lex Luthor in his power armor. Well, just one. It was just a multi-pack for Superman Legacy. So I'm hoping that they actually are committed to Lex in his power armor finally. I think that would be a great thing to have on the big screen finally, because we've only gotten it on CW, I believe, is the last time we got a Lex Luthor in his power armor in live action was on CW for Supergirl. It would be kind of cool not to have it in a low budget thing. Yeah, that's cool. I think that's cool. I've heard some rumors that it's going to be centered on Lex instead of Superman, which I think is a great idea. I think Lex is a very compelling character to even have as a main villain in a movie, or even as the protagonist, like I said, being rumored. I think that's a spectacular idea. I think Lex lends himself very well to potentially being a main, well, not even a hero, but just a main lead for a movie. It's kind of an odd thing for people that don't really know Lex, but if you really look into Lex's character, he's just a very three-dimensional figure in the DC universe. His beef isn't even really just with Superman. That's his main beef in the DC universe, but he's kind of got like a meta-human beef, depending on which interpretation you have. So he's kind of a character that can be a threat to not even just Superman, but to the Justice League in general, or even just the DC universe in general. But he's also a character that's fun to watch. He's very charismatic. Even in Superman Legacy, he was a charismatic character to watch, even though I feel like there wasn't enough of him. But also, he's a character that you almost love to hate Lex sometimes, and he always is swooping in situations. He's like, well, you're having a problem, I can fix that. Like, he's done that several times, and like a few examples I can name off the top of my head is like for Superman Blue in the 90s. Superman was about to die from turning into pure energy after he came back to life in The Return of Superman, and Lex Luthor swoops in and he's like, I have a suit for you so you don't die. You can thank me later. Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. And then like even in Final Night over there trying to help out the Justice League from the Earth getting destroyed. Yeah, he's always doing that. He's always coming in at the last second and being like, hey, I can save you guys if you just trust me. And that's always the thing with Superman too, where Superman's like, if you wanted to save the world, you could have done it yesterday. And Lex Luthor's like, shut up. I think this is a cool idea, in theory, from the rumors that I've heard, having Lex Luthor be the main character. So I hope that's the case. I very much hope that's the case for Man of Tomorrow. I think that would be very interesting. But if it is a main lead Superman movie, I'm not mad at that at all either, because Superman's my second favorite hero in the DC universe. So another Superman movie is splendid. I think either option is a win. I like the art they put up. I'm hoping they actually commit to putting Lex in the power armor. If they don't, I'm going to be mad. Yeah, that's my thoughts on Man of Tomorrow. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is Lanterns. So Lanterns, I do not have a very, or as positive of an outlook on right now. So I've been thinking about making a video on Lanterns for a while. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. It's something I'm very passionate about, is Hal Jordan in specific. I absolutely adore that character. He's the best character in DC Comics, in my opinion. Just the best books. If you pick up any book with Hal Jordan from 2005 to 2011, you're going to enjoy that book. I guarantee it. Jeff Johns on Green Lantern is the best that you can get for DC Comics, at least in my experience of reading the company's books. I have several DC Comics. I'm big into DC Comics. Jeff Johns, Green Lantern, absolutely awesome. So I've been hearing a lot of details about Lanterns, and how it goes so far is they've been talking a lot about a True Detective instead of actual Green Lantern comics, and it's actually been kind of irritating me, because Green Lantern has a lot of source material to pull from for comic books to make a TV show and movie based off of, and they seem to be relying on True Detective being recognizable instead of the actual IP they're adapting from, and that's been irritating the hell out of me. Them just constantly talking about True Detective instead of the actual source material you're drawing from. That's always a negative sign whenever I see that. Or it's like, are you going to talk about what you're adapting instead of the other thing that's inspiring you? Are you going to actually talk about what you're pulling from? And I would like to hear about the actual source material, like what run you like. Actually, can you talk about that, please? That's what I'm here for. That's kind of the project you're working on right now. But then again, Lanterns doesn't come out for another like a year. I think it's like March it's supposed to come out or something. So I guess there's more time for them to turn that around where they actually start talking about Green Lantern instead of True Detective. And then I've heard some other details about the show too. I'm not huge into, which is it's gonna be grounded. It's gonna be a grounded Green Lantern show, which doing a grounded Green Lantern show doesn't make any sense to me. Like all on Earth, like this is a space cop. Like this IP is all about space cop. It's the Green Lantern Corps where they protect 3,600 sectors of the DC universe. It doesn't really make sense to have a purely Earth-based Green Lantern show. You can have plenty of scenes on Earth, I don't mind that, but having a purely Earth-based detective Green Lantern show doesn't fit the IP, I don't think. Again, we don't know, I don't know what exactly the full plot's going to be. I'm just going based on details that I'm hearing, and I'm not liking the details I'm hearing. I'm also hearing that Hal is supposed to die at the end of the show, which I don't like that either. I would like to see my favorite character in DC Comics thrive. That would be cool. And I wish so another thing I'm hearing too is that John is going to be kind of like the hero character at the end of the show. I love John, so I'm hoping if they're going to kill off Hal Jordan, I'm at least hoping they introduced Kyle Rayner. He's never been in live action before, as far as I'm aware. Kyle Rayner, I think, would be a great addition to the DC universe. I'm sure they're not going to want to use Barry Allen already for the DC universe because they just had the Flash movie bomb, so I'm sure they're not going to touch Barry Allen. So if they're going to have that, they're probably going to use Wally. So if they're going to use Wally, I think Wally as the Flash and then Kyle Rayner right next to him as Green Lantern. I think that would be a great dynamic for the Justice League roster, and it would be a unique thing for media because the Justice League show had Wally, but it had John on the League instead of Kyle at the time. I'm a little curious how that's going to go, and they're probably not going to use Kyle, though, so that's going to be a little disappointing. But Kyle Rayner is like one of my favorite DC characters as well, behind Hal Jordan. Kyle is my number 2 favorite, and then it goes Jon Stewart, and then the rest of them are kind of irrelevant, especially Guy Gardner. Fuck Guy Gardner. But yeah, I heard that they're going to kill off Hal, and then it's going to be John left at the end of the show. And I also heard maybe they're doing the Parallax arc, and like I said, if they do that, I want it to be Kyle and John, because Kyle and John I think it would be a fun thing having, like, well, then again, they did say that I think John's a new recruit already, so, well, maybe by the end of the show it would be like he's fully developed. So maybe like season 2 of it could be like Kyle. Well, actually, that doesn't work either because Kyle's supposed to be like the last Jedi kind of thing for the Green Lantern Corps. Shit. I've been thinking about this for a while, too. I am kind of rambling here, but I've been thinking about this for a while for Lantern, where it's like I've been trying to pitch how I can make it work inside my head, but every time I try to pitch it, like a good story out of this, I don't come up with a good result, and I don't like how the details I'm thinking of come together for how that show could come out. Again, it could be good, but I don't like the details I'm hearing, and I do think the casting's been good so far. The guy that they got for Sinestro looks like Sinestro. I haven't seen him in anything. Aaron Pierre as John, I think that's a good casting, and then Kyle Chandler for Hal Jordan is a very good one too. I wish he was younger, but whenever I've seen Kyle Chandler, I have thought maybe, I'm like, that guy could probably be a good Hal Jordan. I'm like, I can see him playing Hal Jordan, but that was like in the back of my mind, like watching King Kong 05 when I was younger. I didn't actually think he would get cast, so I support that casting. There also has been rumors about Black Hand and Atrocitus making appearances in the show, which I think is interesting. I'm not even going to comment on those two because it's not even confirmed. That I'm curious how they would play into the story, but there's like no concrete details as to anything they're doing in the show, just one of the an actor putting up a thing where it was this actor that's playing Sinestro, and then the one that's supposedly playing Black Hand was the one that posted it, and then there was another actor that was on the Instagram post for Atrocitus. I'm not sure what the role of Atrocitus and Black Hand are supposed to be. I've never been a big fan of Black Hand, even in the books. I don't think Black Hand's interesting. I think Blackest Night is great as a event, and there's a lot of good character moments in there, but I don't think Necron or Black Hand are particularly interesting villains. They're kind of just like bleh to me. Yeah, there's that. The image they put up a while ago. I was going to make a video on it, but I never did, because it's like, what am I going to talk about? It's just two guys on the side of the road walking down, and there's like no costume or anything, so I can't even say anything about the costume. It's just Kyle Chandler and Aaron Pierre on the side of the road walking. So I'm like, I can't make a video on that. But you know, you got the ring there, and then you got them walking. I think it's a neat first image, but like, I couldn't make a video about that. I barely have anything to work with for this portion of the video to say, but you know, I do have some thoughts about what I've heard. So you know, I'm making a video based on what I've heard. It's pretty much how I feel about lanterns. Based off pretty much not having any information, just me being a little annoyed with just hearing about True Detective constantly from the team working on the show, and then some of the details and rumors I've heard about. Yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say for Lanterns. I did ramble on for a while. Hopefully, well, that wasn't too painful to listen to. I guess I'll talk about Supergirl a little bit too. I think the what I've seen for Supergirl looks kind of neat. You got Jason Momoa playing Lobo, which is perfect casting. Even Jason Momoa, when he was going to audition for the DCEU instead of the DCU, I thought he was going to play Lobo, but so I'm glad he's finally being able to do it. And then Sasha Calle, or not Sasha Calle, whoops, wrong Supergirl. Millie Alcock as Supergirl is good casting. I liked her in Superman 2025. I liked her role there, her little cameo she had at the end of the movie. I've always liked Supergirl being more of that angry character. That's something I've always liked, differentiate her from Superman. Like, you got her in the comics, she eventually becomes like a Red Lantern in the New 52. I always thought that was interesting, fun, little wacky comic event where it was her turning into Supergirl. Like, she kills Lobo and she becomes a Red Lantern. Like, the Red Ring comes to her and is like, Kara, you have great rage in your heart. And it's like she becomes Supergirl, or she becomes a Red Lantern, and I think that story's sick. So yeah, pretty cool. It would be interesting if they pulled that in the movie, just pulled the rug out of from everybody. I've never read Supergirl Tomorrow though. I need to get on that, but I think that'd be funny if they think it's based on that. Everybody thinks it's based on Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. It's really based on, oh god, what was that comic called? The Superman, was it Daughter of the Red Sun or something, where she became the Red Lantern? I think that would be funny. That'd be hilarious, especially if you get Lanterns in that same like month or something like that. Well, because I know they're both releasing next year at the same time, or around the same time. So it'd be funny to get. So if Atrocitus isn't Lanterns, and then you get the next thing that comes out is Supergirl, and you get Supergirl as a Red Lantern, I think that'd be fun. But none of that's proven, and it's just all a bunch of rumors so far. But yeah, I'm excited for Supergirl. I'm a big fan of that character. Angry Supergirl, fun. I like her. So yeah, I think that's pretty much all I got to say. Thank you for listening to me ramble about the DCU. Just some things that we've been wanting to talk about. So yeah, thanks for watching.